Hello and welcome to Tabletop Odyssey. My name is Jay, and today I'm having a closer look at the Jyn Erso and the Rebel Pathfinders for Star Wars Legion. And we're going to look at like basic build and a basic list. Now I say list specifically instead of several because quite frankly the game is getting so big and varied at this point that the amount of possibilities and lists that you could field is possibly it's not something I can do in this one video. If you want to run triple ATRTs with Jyn, it's probably possible and doable and maybe even good, but that's not something that I've played enough to really know. So we're just going to look at like a really basic list and talk about the upgrades that the characters and the units can have. But yeah, before we do that though, if you like the video at the end of the video, do hit like. If you're not already subscribed, then please do consider doing that as it does help. And yeah, let's move on. Let's crack on with the video. So I'm actually using a new list builder. I'm using Legion HQ because it's got nice pictures like this and I like it. So that's what we're going to do. There's a variety of different ways to talk about these, but we'll go through Jyn. I think Jyn is a very interesting character, with that infiltrate, both the Rebel Pathfinders and Jyn having the infiltrate. Very strong in terms of key positions. We've already discussed that. And, for sure, if you get key positions, you might want to throw one of these on the middle objective and then run away. Like, very possible, something you could do. And it'd be pretty tricky to stop, especially maybe the Rebel Pathfinders who have Dauntless, which I'll show you now, which basically means that if you're suppressed but not panicked, you can gain a suppression token and move. But I think the problem with that is you have to actually move before you then do your second action, so that's actually not that good for picking up the middle box. I'm completely wrong on that point, but you know what I mean. Maybe Jyn, she's not going to get 3 suppression in one turn before she gets to activate, so you're going to at least get one move away from her, and yeah, you're going to pick up the box and move away. So that's key positions. I'm not going to try and bring it up too much because it is what it is, but I think the Jyn and the Pathfinders, they want to play with suppression. Whether it's whether it's Dauntless or whether it's Danger Sense, suppression is something that they're happy to have, and they want to use in positive ways. So duck and cover is an obvious example there. They don't have low profile, so neither of them are going to get heavy cover from having that one suppression, but that one suppression is then going to let them roll an extra dice on the defense. So duck and cover is an obvious standout. You could, if I had the points in this list, I would have whacked it on the Pathfinders as well. But yeah, duck and cover. So we'll have a look at some of the upgrades that they could take. So she's only got the weapon one, so I think that's 0 points. There's no reason to not take that. She's got gear. I think I'm missing one here, aren't I? Maybe, but yeah, for the for this, I wouldn't necessarily have any of these on her. Maybe a steamed leader if you wanted to keep her safe. Not necessarily into that. If we got rid of duck and cover, then I can actually add the training one. I don't really rate anything else here on her. I think duck and cover, if you're going to put anything like this on her, it makes perfect sense. And we are going to look at the release stuff. I understand that this is showing me the non-release stuff, but meh. And the weapon is obviously, you probably just want the weapon, so that's fine. That weapon, by the way, I really like. I think you're probably going to use the range 1 to 2 variant with Jyn, mostly because she's going to deploy quite close to your enemy, and it's not going to take you very long to get, to get within range 2. So the red dice I really like. Whereas, for the Rebel Pathfinders, you might actually want to stay back at 4, but for Jyn, I think you might want to get up close and personal, and starting off in that second config there, where it's the pistol config, I think would be pretty cool. And that's really all she can take. Like, there's not that much there that's really like amazing for her. Obviously, you've got to take the weapon upgrade. It's 0 points on Jyn, so it makes no sense to not take that. Duck and cover, I think hand in hand, you could happily take that on everybody. So that's Jyn. Like, I don't think she necessarily has that much interest in things she can take or upgrades she can take, but she obviously makes up for that with her variety on her card. That quick thinking, that's pretty interesting. Danger sense, nimble, which combines with the quick thinking quite nicely. So you could basically, you take quick thinking, you do that as an action, get a dodge and a name, shoot, perfect. You've got nimble, so if you do get shot, you can spend your dodge, and it, that infiltrate means you're not necessarily going to need to move all the time. She actually put 1 negating cover 1, so that's all in all, I think she's pretty interesting. Danger Sense 4, you just pile on the suppression, the tankier she gets. She's really better, like, if you're playing against her, pop shot in her, do a wound or 2 wounds a turn. So when she's not got suppression, but the fact that she can choose not to remove the suppression means that's not going to actually make sense, because she's just not going to remove the suppression. So really, I'd say hit the first time you shoot her, make it a good one. But then again, she's got duck and cover, so even that's not going to be that great. But first time you shoot her, make it a good one. What else? Well, we'll talk about the Pathfinders before we talk about the full list. The Pathfinders themselves, I'd not necessarily rate in Bistan myself, and I'll just show you Bistan so we can see him. Do I have to get rid of Paul first? So let's have a look at the heavy weapons. Yeah, I'm not necessarily rating Bistan. For Ion and Impact at the minute, it's a bit too expensive. Yes, it's nice for the Rebels to have range 4 Impact, but I mean, I understand people might want to take it, but if I was going to take any heavy weapon for these guys, it's going to be Payal or whatever he's called. I'm not even sure I would necessarily take him. I think I would maybe try and build a list around him, maybe taking Fleet Troopers or something like that, where that Inspire is actually going to become really useful. Yeah, Power with like Fleet Troopers, something that really wants to get close, makes a lot more sense because of that Inspire. I've just knocked something over, but it's nothing important. So that's the heavy weapon. The weapon config, I think, is an absolute must. I cannot see a situation where you wouldn't take this. Obviously, it's 6 points and you get both of them. You just have to reconfigure it. I would possibly, if I'm taking Power, I'll possibly take the 1 to 4 as a standard. Whereas if I'm not taking him, I might try and look to get up close and personal at range 2 with the red dice, maybe. But that range 3, 2 white dice is also pretty interesting. So for me, I'm probably going to leave it on the long range config at the start. And that's like, maybe I would take duck and cover. If I had the points, I think I would take, that is the wrong one, Jason. I wouldn't take any of these. Recon Intel you don't really need if you've got Infiltrate. Targeting Sculpt is actually interesting if you're rolling like 10 black dice a pop or whatever you end up rolling. Stims, because they're quite expensive, yeah, I could sort of see that. It's not what I was trying to look at though. What was I trying to look at? Training, I believe. Yes, duck and cover is an obvious one. If I had the points, I'd probably throw that in. That Danger Sense, it makes perfect sense. Danger Sense, lols. HQ uplink, maybe. Comms Relay is pretty interesting for 5 points. I do actually really like the idea of Comms Relay. If you can throw that in, that might be interesting. So that's really the way I personally would build the Rebel Pathfinders. In a list, there's so many combinations of characters you could do at the moment. Like Jyn and Han, Jyn and Luke, Jyn, Han, Chewie, Jyn, Leia, Chewie, Jyn on her own. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many. I'm not 100% sure what the best would be there. But quite often you'll see something like Luke and Leia, which is like a combat character and a support character. Or you'll see Boba Fett and Veers, again, a combat character and a support character. And so Jyn and Leia sort of feel like that's the same kind of vibe. Jin's the more aggressive, shooty, get in your face kind of character, and Leia's that support character, popping out those take covers and that kind of thing. So in this situation, and I was looking on the Discord, a lot of people were taking Jyn and Leia, so it sort of makes sense to me to do something like that. I've whacked in Improvised Orders. It's a great card, actually. It really lets you, like, pull out that one card that you need at the right time. Maybe you get Special Forces and you want to call the odds are in your favor that you'll get it. So that's a pretty decent card, but you can run Leia naked. She's pretty decent just on her own. And then I've gone with 2 units of snipers. You can't go with 3 because obviously you've got the Special Forces already. You could run a full unit of commandos, which I do like. They're pretty decent, but what I would maybe do if I was going to do that is take a full unit of commandos and maybe have the heal bots to heal back these guys, the Pathfinders and the Rebel Commandos, so you're getting more use out of them. So that's another like dimension of a list you could take, but this is just sort of like your generic list, if that makes sense. And then I've whacked in a Rebel unit with the Z6 and the fragmentation grenades, because if you're taking Pow, pro, whatever you want to call him, then that Inspire is really going to mean that you might want to get up close and personal, because obviously it's got a limited range. So if your Pathfinders are up the board and your Rebel Troopers are at the back, you're not going to get much use there. So the frag grenades on a couple of units, if you can, it makes sense. They're all right. It's not the greatest combination. Obviously, Snow Troopers probably make the greatest combination. And then I just filled it out with 5 units of Z6 Trooper and nothing else. Yeah, I think this is an okay list. I might run this on a battle report maybe on Tuesday or whatever I film that, so that'll be interesting. Command cards. Let's have a quick talk about these before we ditch. Now that you've got so many options, if you're taking Jyn and Leia, there is a total. I don't know how many cards are there here. 6. It's nearly 9. It's 9 plus 10, 11. 11 there are, which I guess makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I don't necessarily know which ones you would take. I think it's up to you. Layers are pretty much all decent. I'd really be tempted to take all of Layers. Somebody has to save our skins. I would maybe ditch for oh no, there's actually 12, isn't there? It makes sense. I was thinking like 11 didn't make sense. It's because I'd already selected one. So which one was the one that I just had? Covering Fire, which is the broken one for the Rebels. Yeah, I think I would maybe ditch Layers 3 pip and take that, and then maybe just take Jyn and Layers, maybe. So that's it's your choice though. I really like the generic ones just because of the versatility, but sometimes your options are better at doing something else. So that's the way I personally build them. I think essentially it's for the Rebel Pathfinders, you pretty much have to take that weapon choice. I don't see why you wouldn't, because you can just start off in the range 4, get to range 3, and then use the 2 white dice instead. I really like that as an option. And then if you want to get really up close and personal, take the red dice to range 2 with Surge. I think that's nasty as well. So yeah, for me, you've got to take the weapon upgrade. I would try and get Duck and Cover in there, and I would run Power over Bistan. That's how I personally would build them. And then for Jyn, well, the weapon's so great, it's free, Duck and Cover, and you can call that a day. You don't really need anything else there. She's going to be interesting enough as it is on her own. And you might not even need Duck and Cover. It's the idea with Infiltrate is that you'll be able to put yourself in a good part of the board where you can hide and have cover for most of the game. So you might not even need Duck and Cover. So that's the way I personally would build them. The list as a whole, tailor it as you like. As I said, 3 ATRTs would be fine, and Airspeed is probably fine. Jyn and Han, probably all fine. But you can see how there's certain ways to build a list. Like if you want to take like expensive full units of special forces, maybe take the heal droids because you can heal them back up and stuff like that. If you're taking 3 ATRTs, maybe take the repair bots. Make of that as you will. If you're taking Power, who's got Inspire, you can maybe then take Fleet Troopers because they're going to be able to get rid of some suppression as they go along. So tailor it as you like, for sure. But let me know if you would maybe change anything. If you've built any lists, whack it down in the comments below and I'll have a quick look. We're not necessarily going to do the review stuff. If you want to put Death Trooper and Krennic lists in the description, obviously I appreciate that we've not had everything spoiled, but maybe you're watching this just before, just after they have been, then I will come back and we'll review them when I do my video of this for them, if that makes sense. So that's the end of the video. If you like the video, do like, subscribe if you're not already. Thank you to my patrons, I do really appreciate that. Hopefully I'll, trying to get some battle reports, more and more battle reports on the channel. We've done 2 so far. And obviously it's quite tricky time-wise, and the downside is it feels like spring to summer is when tournament season sort of is. So there's a lot of events that I'm going to, which hinders how often I can do battle reports and that kind of jazz. But I'm trying my best, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. What you should do though is have a most beautiful day. Let me know in the comments below if you would maybe post your list, if you would do anything differently, and I'll have a gander and I'll obviously comment. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.